consciousness is self-awareness. Consciousness is an entity having such complexity, having so many layers of memory which interact, that there can be a self-referencing within the system. I suppose that would be one definition of consciousness. A self-referencing to other states that the present state can recognize. We call that consciousness. In this state, and I reference very rapidly many, many other states in a dynamic sense, which presumably constitutes consciousness. Self-awareness is self-referentialness. That's one definition. You got a better one? No, that's one definition. The soul, this is some Egyptian idea from the pyramids. The soul, I've never come across the soul too much. I don't know how I would recognize it if I saw it. The soul is a word. I think we have to recognize it's a word that has a currency in certain cultures and for certain purposes. And it's been a convenient way of avoiding the fact that until telepresence, until the possibilities, the implications of life in the net, so to speak, were there, and where mortality was like quite definite for mind and body, for the total personality, so to speak, then it was a convenient, I would say, myth to keep people going. I mean, we've seen many myths at work. For example, we've seen the myth of the afterlife, in the sense that, and those terrible constraints put upon ordinary people by, for example, the church in the Middle Ages, that your life is shit, but that's okay. The afterlife is really what you should be concentrating. These are convenient myths, and I think the soul was one. I guess it was a word, never very clear about what happened to it. I believe it went on a boat on an underground river called the Styx. I believe it was maintained with a retinue of other souls if you pushed enough gold and silver into a tomb. I mean, the soul, I don't know. Consciousness is another word. I guess what I have to say is that I recognize that we use metaphors as human beings. That's what we do. And as Nietzsche once said, if you keep using a metaphor long enough, you can forget that it was a metaphor, and you think it's called the truth. We don't have too much truth. We don't know, we can't recognize, we can't. Truth is a concept that we can't deal with. We don't have a meta language to deal with truth. Should I go on? No. Yeah, that's okay. We don't have a meta-language against which we can measure the validity of the word soul or consciousness. But we do have a consensus, and in that consensus we throw around the word consciousness, and it seems to work, it seems to resonate. Soul, I don't know. Soul is what, the kernel that's left once you've reduced the consciousness. That's an interesting idea. It has to do with compression, I guess, as with images, which we at the moment still have to transfer by compressing. I guess you can compress the data, and then you'd have this kernel called the soul. I can't see the function of this concept in my life. My life works, and its relationships, and its loves, and its fears, and all the things that constitute my life work well with, for example, the model of consciousness. Soul, I don't need it. I don't know what it refers to, and therefore it's very difficult for me to understand where it's located or how it would continue. But I've got a feeling it's residual of some other culture that also had this convenient concept of God as a kind of non-answer to all the unanswerable questions that one could put. And I guess it had its use in that sense.